I knew Mr. Prakash 11 minutes ago, and in this 11 minutes I know much more.
Thank you.
I get reminded of two characters. Many of you would know these two characters. There was a character played by S.V. Rangarao in the movie Maya Bazaar. All of you have seen that character? If he does like this, something happens. Correct? Also, Mr. Rajnikant, who played Robo. If he takes the book and does this, he finishes the book. Is Mr. Prakash like that? Because I don't think even if I get up at 3:15, we can write so many articles like he writes. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Now I'd like to request Mr. Kumar Rajagopalan, Vice President, Strategic Initiatives and Country Head at Dexian, who brings a lot of global insight. Request you to kindly give your distinguished guest address, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Good evening, all. So, before I start this book, I just want to remind what Anil has said. It's been Prakash Seshadri has always been a good mentor to all of us. Be it it's Anil Kumar or Kumar Rajagopalan. Some Kumar is always associated. But the most important part is, in his two previous books, one is Spiritual CEO, the other one is Dharma Tales. In fact, I wrote the last chapter in this book. He didn't allow me to write the last chapter because I think probably Anil Kumar was a obedient mentee and I'm not. So probably he was looking at that way. Or he wrote this book and said, like, at least now I cannot keep telling you, reminding you what are the values and how do you do it. At least read the book. So that may be one of the reasons. But again, I'll probably take a small pause here, take a 10-year journey. 2015, in fact, when I was assuming this role in Dexian, it wasn't a large company, it was a very, very small company at that point of time. And in a namesake, it was a multinational company. And in India, very handful of people. So the first thing first, like which in fact I had close to about like 7 or 8 leaders, so-called directors, and then about like 20 are team members. So the directors are more than the team members, I believe at that point of time. And it was a 24/7 shop, the large office too. And by evening, around like 8:30, everybody will leave. And I would be along with the security in the office. The whole office in the night shift with the security, sometimes it's so scary. But the only thought which I had at that point of time is, how do I build this office, or how do I build this enterprise into a very large enterprise and provide as many employments here. So the first training, I called Mr. Prakash. He came there. I think the first session was about like 4x productivity. That was the topic which was chosen. And mentoring each and every director, what do we do? But now looking back at 10 years, it's not 4x. We are almost like 100x in terms of the numbers. And we established not only in Chennai, close to about like 6 offices around India, in all the metros, and about like 2,000 people right now working. And it's one of the fastest growing companies. In fact, including the promoters, everybody met Mr. Prakash. So that way, I would probably say that was an eye-opener. That session was an eye-opener, and constantly we have been interacting with him and wanted to take an advice that some of times if there is a way to kind of go through. And sometimes, in fact, I totally forgot to ask certain advices, and he reminded me with a couple of books he asked me to write, and I had the privilege of reading the book even before anybody could read it, and wrote the last chapter. So which means that like not once, each of the books like had to at least read 6 or 7 times to take it inside to write the last chapter. So that way is like kind of, it was a very good reminder for me to go through that one. So the 9 Habits of Super Successful MSMEs, that book, in fact I think there is a deviation from him from the previous books. The previous book, Spiritual CEO, Dharma Tales, everything is for a CEO. So which means that like for a person who is at the top, right? But this one, I think probably he's put it for the corporate as a whole, for the company as a whole, because he found so many of me like that, like CEOs there in the corporate world. It would be good to have at least build the entire layer, not just the CEO. That way, look at it, MSMEs per se requires this kind of a book, and all the leaders within the MSMEs. Kind of flipping this one, the name itself, instead of saying the MSMEs in terms of enterprise, I would say micro, small, medium, and expandable habits. Probably that's the most appropriate word for the industry at this point of time. Because the first thing for all the MSME entrepreneurs, dreaming is always a problem. Every day there's a lot of problems for them, including the finance, including the legal, including working with multiple teams and external teams, internal teams. So for him, the expandability becomes a problem. And when that expandability is a problem, the first and foremost thing is the dreaming. You stop dreaming, you stop expanding. So which means that like it has to be a parallel activity, and to have that one, a very clear purpose for which the enterprise is built and the main objective for which they are pursuing is very, very important. Once that purpose is known, and that's what I think probably it's covered in this book, because I didn't read like what Anil said, so it's the first time they gave it to me. Once the purpose is built, the entire thing falls in place. But in a very short span, I read the last chapter, which is very, very resonating to me, because that's where day in, day out I do that one, building the large, great teams and the conflict resolution. As soon as the MSMEs kind of grow, the growth path is very, very difficult. I can tell you, like kind of for everybody, the growth path is difficult for two reasons. One is the fear of failure, and the second one is always the people around you always make you feel that like you are the king, which is not the case actually. They give you day in, day out, praise you, so many things, and most of the time you have to ignore because those praises are selfish in nature. But to know your true sense and to kind of make you come out of that one, you have to go into almost zero ego, eliminate everything, and then come into that stage where you have nothing to kind of prove, but to kind of make sure that the enterprise expands much better. So this is where the last chapter, the conflict resolution, is very, very important. Because when two individuals fight each other, they are just not fighting each other. They are not allowing the large enterprises to survive or the enterprises to survive. And most importantly, they are making the journey of a CEO becomes a nightmare. And we all know in an MSME world, typically around us, like kind of you would have seen, you could have taken up a good job in a TVS, or you could have taken up a good job in some other company, have a nice, happy life. I don't know why he chose to start a company. Look at him now. He has a loan. He's running around, and constantly about like 18 hours he is going around from one place to another place. There is no success. And you are to add salt to the injury. Somebody who is working would be buying a fantastic car. And you look at it as like kind of, I could have done this, like why did I run through that one? But again, the whole equation here is a purpose. And what I realized at some point of time, going through all these things, actually you don't miss me. And every day it becomes a learning. When you start looking at it as a learning, every day you look at it kind of what you build from the scratch to a certain level. Every day you look back, you have given employment opportunities to so many people. And Anand puts it, 70 million MSMEs and contributing 1/3 of GDP. It's not going to happen. And I'll finish this with a small Panchatantra tales. And this habit also came from him because he puts a lot of stories, and this also came from him. So 3 fishes in the pond, and the pond was so good. And this is very equal to the MSME story right now. So at some point of time, it's like the 3 fish named wisdom. You can see that all the surroundings, environment, and the future. How does it look and everything. The second one was intelligent and it's also hardworking, knows how to survive, how to run through difficult situations, but it cannot foresee many of the stuff. But the current situation, any situation given, it will jump out and come out of the problems. The third one is called now. It lives now, don't care anything, and everything will be taken care by God. So I don't have to do much. I will happily enjoy my life, right? These three fishes at some point of time, when they were happily going around, there was a hot summer, no rain, and slowly the pond was drying up. So the first fish said, this time probably El Nino factor, there won't be any rain, and it would probably make this lake dry up. So there is a small creek and there is a stream which is connecting to the river. All of us somehow jump into that one and move away. But the other two did not agree. They said, no, nothing will happen. You always procrastinate, make big problems, problem statement, and we are not going to follow. The first fish, without any argument, just left and found a way, found a river, and then happily went through that one. But the second fish started feeling the heat. At some point of time, it felt that like maybe the first fish is right. Now I have to make through to the river. It tried all its energy. In the process, it kind of burnt out. Somehow, barely escaped through and then escaped from that one and went to the river. The third one is like, it will rain. Someday it will rain. I don't want to go. It will rain. I don't want to go. They like, when it was drying up completely also, it said like, no, it will rain. It's like kind of tonight, probably I will find something. And eventually, that fish died because like it couldn't move further because there was no water anyway. So if you really look at it in the Panchatantra story, in fact, the ending was, it was basically when you don't have the wisdom, you have to get the wisdom from somebody. When you don't have the energy to run through, you learn from somebody and then run through that one. But if you wanted to avoid every opportunity, it becomes a problem for you to kind of escape. So this is a story of MSME. In a 70 billion, probably about 10% would have the wisdom to kind of make it to large enterprises, even 5%. About like 50%, more than 50 to 60% barely escape. Every now and then they struggle with the problems, come out of it, but the only thing which they miss out is, instead of doing on their own, if they have somebody like Mr. Prakash to give that wisdom, probably they can foresee some of the problems to come out of it. The last one, they are not only going to die, but also tell the other people that like, don't start any enterprise because I'm dying, you will also die. So they make the negative statements and bring down the economy. So in all is like kind of these kind of books and these kind of mentors are necessary in this world because the MSMEs here, especially in India, that too in this current environment, we have to be make in India and then spend in India and then grow the economy here. We need a lot of mentors like Mr. Prakash and a lot of books we need you to publish so that like somebody who is as lazy I am, so at least have the